My introduction as pinch hitter, I hope, won't be a disappointment to you. I'm here in my role today to try and make what the previous two speakers have discussed real, to try and put a human face on community collaborative efforts in juvenile justice. As Dr. Onaga indicated, I have a two-county jurisdiction, northern Michigan, Charlevoix and Emmett County. When I first took my job, Charlevoix County had, depending on the year, the highest per capita placement rate in the state. And for those of you old-timers, back then we were dealing with a fixed child care fund formula, and placement was a huge cost burden to all of our counties. When I took my job, it was apparent to me that we couldn't afford that. We couldn't afford to keep placing kids at that rate. And one of the biggest reasons we couldn't afford it is that the outcomes were extraordinarily disappointing. So we paid more and got less. So I want to give you an image. I want you to think about a pizza. Okay? So if you don't like pizza, I'm sorry. But when I say pizza, people generally form an image in their mind. And all your images are different. But there are some common ingredients in your pizza. So when we sat down and tried to figure out how to make a change in placement of kids, we had to start to look at what do we have available in our house to make our pizza. And we came up short. We could get part of the way, but we needed more. So we decided if we invited some friends over from the neighborhood, what could they bring? And that's basically the approach that we began with to stumble along in the creation of some community-based programs that we now have, depending on the program, somewhere between 19 years experience to perhaps 5 or 6 years experience. So the programs I want to highlight for you today are programs we have lived with. They are all a community collaborative effort that we could not do on our own. But because we have developed some successful community partners, we have not only been able to accomplish better progress for kids and families, but we have built sort of a community support sense where we live. People are interested in our programs. People outside of the court system and outside of the agency system participate with us to help make these programs work. As has previously been indicated, I think, from Dr. Butt's presentation, a lot of kids in the court system are going to be fine no matter what we do. I have my own anecdotal framework of percentages, and I would say that in my experience about 30% of all kids who come into the court system are going to be just fine. We have an initial experience with them. They serve a short term of probation. They have an adequate family support network, and they're going to go on and live their life as good citizens. About 5% of the kids in my experience have extraordinary issues. Now we talk both about incarceration, but there are also placements that kids need. We have kids who have sophisticated mental health issues that are going to require an intensity of placement, or they have some kind of behavior issue that presents a legitimate risk to the community. Fortunately, that is a fairly small percent, but that percent still needs to be attended to. It's those people in the middle, if we're going to triage kids who come into the court system, that we as a court and a community collaborative collector can be effective with. That's where the payoff is. Can we make changes in the lives of kids who might not make those changes but for our community effort? And are we going to abdicate that responsibility to a facility somewhere else, or are we going to try and do it at home? I want to talk about several categories of programs. The first category are our court schools. I think this is a fairly unique program, even though many courts try and facilitate some kind of continuing education for kids that they have in their court system or their detention homes. This is in the same fruit market, but it's a different fruit. The court schools I want to discuss with you are freestanding court schools that are collaborative efforts and grant high school diplomas. The second category I want to discuss with you is a community-based substance recovery system that is an alternative to inpatient treatment. And that's in your materials. I've got this PowerPoint. I'm really not going to use the PowerPoint step by step, but there are some images here that I want to access as I go through my remarks. And then the last category of program I want to talk to you about is the juvenile drug court. You all may have some familiarity with the drug court concept. It's very popular in the state of Michigan in certain areas. We have the adult drug court, which is one model. We have some family treatment courts, which are another model. The model that we're using, even though it incorporates family treatment concepts, is the juvenile drug court. We have one of those in each county. And to start with the end just for a moment, we have tried to rename those programs. Even though some of the funding legislation requires us to call them drug courts, we locally call them the SURE program and the STAR program. Different counties. I have two counties, so we have our own sort of experimental petri dishes going on in each county, and I'm the common denominator. So we do things a little differently in each county, but we learn from that. So what we've learned is that drug court is there's a stigma for the parents who go through it, for the kids who go through it, and even though our treatment model is the same, we give them a different label. I think it was Dr. Butts who talked about the importance of labeling. So supporting teens in recovery efforts is our STARS program in Charlevoix, and substance use and recovery education is our program in Emmett County, and these names were devised by the members of the court team and the kids who were in the program at the time. So let me go back to the court school. I see the court school as really the hub of our effort. The court school is probably the strongest arrow in our quiver. That is this facility is something that assists in almost all of the other probation efforts that we're organized with. We started by accident. We started in one of our small 6-bed detention homes. Realizing that we couldn't really provide adequate education in that facility, we began to try and teach kids on our own rather than the model at the time, which was try and get their homework from their school and bring it in. We begged, borrowed, and stole, begged and borrowed some computer and software material. And then the next big step was my discussion with a local school district where this detention home is located to convince them that it would be better for them to provide us a teacher and materials than for us to put these kids in their system for short periods of time, which we had the right to do. That was so successful that we began taking kids who were living at home but on our probation load but not doing well in school. We would bring them into the detention home setting for the day for their education. We outgrew that and needed a bigger building. So we began, and this effort started in 1991, by the way. About 1995, we transitioned into a local church that allowed us to use their building Monday through Friday. We'd come in and deconstruct their meeting facility, have our school all week, and reconstruct it on Friday afternoon. Year 2000, Boyne City School District bought an old K through 12 and turned over most of that building to us. We called that effort in Charlevoix County the Great Lakes Academy. The slides I have here are the Lakeview Academy. The Lakeview Academy is our effort in Emmett County, which we began in the year 2000. Now in Charlevoix County, our collaborative effort is the court and the local school district. In Emmett County, it's, the court. We get our certified teachers from our intermediate school district, and the building facility was purchased by our local county commissioners. First of all, they put us in an abandoned building. They liked what happened there. They bought this building, which is near the courthouse, and spent over nearly $2 million to rehabilitate it. So I'll just give you some, the staff includes, this is a combination of staff that is funded, all of the educational staff is funded by one of the two school districts that we work with. The other staff that are paid are court-paid staff. Some are financed through the child care fund. In the building, you can see that we have individual cubicles, we have common rooms. Our population are males and females between 12 and 18. They have some kind of behavioral issue that would make them inappropriate for the school system, or they might be in one of our other two programs, which I'll discuss in a minute. These are just images of, these are some of the programs that we introduce into both of our schools. This is just sort of a random list. Counseling, gender-based therapy, life skills groups, anger and stress management. This is this is an area where we do a lot of our substance abuse education. We also incorporate adventure education, career exploration. One of the cardinal behavioral models in our school is that respect requires respect. This is, if you were to enter this building, and I would invite any of you to tour it, this is a quiet, respectful, on-task environment. If people disrespect each other, they're required immediately to remedy that by, we have a 3 and 5 rule. So if you say something insulting to me, I have to immediately say 3 nice things about you, and if I can't bring myself to do that, I have to write 5 things. But we understand that to be a productive citizen, you have to model productive behavior. What we've learned is that we cannot be effective with kids unless we are able to involve their family. That's commonly believed, and I think with varying degrees of success. But we also have to involve their peer group. What this school model gives us is an opportunity to influence the peer group for kids who are there all day long. One of the things that I learned early on is that I can be pretty effective in the courtroom, and our probation department can be fairly effective when we go and check up on people. But where kids are really living their lives are in their school environment. That's where they're making their friends, that's where they're trying to be recognized, that's where they're making their connections, which also obviously include where's the party, that's where they do their drug deals, that's where a lot of the negatives go on, and we have concentrated on making that 6 to 7 hours of their waking day a positive, respectful, useful experience. Now, these are just some of the other programs that are in the handout, and I won't belabor the list. But these are some images of the different additional, this program, the guy on the left is not a kid. That's a community member who donates his time, and I put this slide in only because he's an example of the community connection and support that our school has created for people who would like to do something to have some kind of give back. This is a wilderness experience. We do live in northern Michigan. We didn't have to go very far to do this. But these camping experiences are always, no, the kids don't want to do this. before they have to leave. And they all come back with reports of extraordinary experiences. Our mission with all of the kids we work with is to make behavior changes, or to help them make behavior changes, so they'll do the appropriate thing when we're not looking at them. What we're able to do in the old model is to put kids away, and I'm going to now transition to the Recovery High substance abuse program. That's not on I don't have a PowerPoint. But you do have materials for the Recovery High program. What we learned early on is that obviously substance use and abuse is present in the majority of cases we deal with in the juvenile justice system. Sending kids to inpatient treatment programs could have good, immediate, short-term results. You lock a kid up 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you make them live with trained professionals who are on task all the time. You feed them better, you give them better education, and they're going to do much better. They'll make remarkable progress while they are in that facility at tremendous cost, tremendous dollar cost. We decided we couldn't do that, but we recognized that capturing that initial 24/7 environment was important. So we have what we call the Recovery High program, and at this point I think we've taken referrals from all over the state, 45 counties, whatever their materials say. The Recovery High program is a 5-phase program. I'm going to give you a different image. So you're done with the pizza, you've had lunch, now think of a train. Okay? Recovery High, if you think of a train and all the different cars on the train, that's what Recovery High is. And in its most intensive phase 1, which we predict will last about 90 days, we have captured the 24/7 environment. We have foster care homes, 6 foster care homes, which can take up to 4, sometimes 6 kids. The foster parents are trained in recovery skills. All the kids who are in phase 1 go to our court school. And they receive treatment 5 days a week from an outfit called BASES, which is in the material, Bay Area Substance Abuse Education Services. So we combine their living environment, what they eat, what they're talking about, how they're treating each other, going to bed on time, life skills, with their school environment and their hopefully transitioning peer group, and their recovery resource support. Now you can move down that train. You might transition home but stay in the court school. Or you might stay in foster care and go back to your public school. You might have come in, unbeknownst to us, with a significant problem, but we just referred you out of probation to the most relaxed end of the program, which is just basic education. While you're on probation, you demonstrate that you're still using, and we move you to a different car on the train. And a lot of kids move back and forth, because as they transition out of our more intensive services and experience more of their neighborhood environment, they're likely to be tempted to slip or relapse. But what this model allows us to do is to teach kids, as in the court school, to make changes where they live. The idea that we can send them away and have them make changes and then bring them back and just automatically sustain those changes leads to disappointment. We find that if we are working intensively with kids in real time, in the real place where they live, and are trying to support, include their family, and families are included in our court school programs and our Recovery High programs, and the drug treatment programs, we find that if we are incorporating those in real time, that they can make sustained progress. And the peer group issue is probably the most important one. How do they develop new, different peer groups? And this kind of horizontal treatment, locally based, allows us to be more effective. I do not have a magic wand here. but I can tell you that we have increased our result, or we wouldn't keep doing it because it's a lot more work. Now if I could have the other program just for a minute. I want to talk briefly about the drug court program. It's something that you may all be acquainted with on some level. These are slides which will show you a little bit about the SURE program. I would just want to leave you again with some images. The drug court program it's very intensive. These kids they're all in our court school. They attend court once a week. After we start court at 5 o'clock. I do this in Emmett County on Tuesday and Charlevoix County on Wednesday. I meet with all the team members, and I'll show you those in a minute. We meet at lunchtime on court day for this program and discuss all of the cases that are in the drug court. Then those kids and their families all return at 5 p.m. to court. In the court session, I don't know if you can see through the glare, it's a little informal. Well, here's our drug court team. I guess I'll go to that. The drug court team incorporates court and community people. That's me on the left. I am the common resource. Then the substance abuse coordinator is a court employee, the court administrator. The lady fourth from the left is our court school administrator in Emmett County at the Lakeview Academy. Then the substance abuse provider, private agency person. The prosecutor, a dedicated probation officer, and the defense attorney. The only person missing here is our community mental health representative. What I want this visual to demonstrate is that there is a lot of community collaboration required in our treatment team approach. This is an intensive time commitment for us. But if you were to take all of the kids who are in this program and imagine that a significant number of them might have to be placed in a treatment program, then the cost-benefit ratio makes more sense. That's the same team format in Charlevoix County, just different numbers. So the drug court program again requires contact with the hub, which is our court school. Requires family accountability. They participate with us in programming. Family members are required to attend specific programming. They are required to come to the court experience each week. And this is it's an informal court presentation. You can see we're not really recording this in the true sense of a court proceeding. I sit on the bench. That's to maintain some kind of connection to the actual court experience. And then the young person and their family, together with the team members, all stand together as we review their weekly progress. Their progress, if it's positive, and that's what we're looking for, is incentive-based. These are our substance abuse providers. Those are just pictures of treatment. At each phase advancement, these are 4-phase programs, the juveniles have to present a project. I always have dialogue with them. They have to present a project that demonstrates what kind of impact their phase advancement is making on them. This is a graduation ceremony. I wanted to show you, this is a family, one of our families that went through the drug court program, and I wanted to show you this from the mother. This was the mother's own project that she decided to present to us at graduation. I missed a little bit of the end, but let me read it to you if you can't read it. Here are some of the positive effects drug court has had on our family. For my son, who was the participant, he has been clean and sober for almost a year. He has learned to deal with his emotions in a positive and healthy manner. His medications are now effective in dealing with ADD and aggression. He is happy with himself. These next two, this is the kind of outcome we're always looking for somebody, the first part. Here's the bonus material. This is the mom. For me, I have stopped drinking. I am going to AA regularly. I have learned to set boundaries. I have learned what is acceptable behavior. I have learned appropriate consequences for misbehavior. For my other and younger son, he is not the object of his siblings' aggression anymore. He has learned that there are consequences for actions or inactions. I think he has learned that drugs and alcohol are bad choices. And I think we have learned to communicate as a family and respect each other. So that's the payoff for us. We don't often see that progress. You know, we hope it's there. That's what we tell ourselves we're coming to work to do. But it's very gratifying to have that kind of payoff. And fortunately, we collect a lot of these and remind ourselves from time to time when we're having our inevitable bad days. Okay, I'm doing on time here, but I think that really concludes kind of the bird's eye view of the programs I wanted to present to you. So at this point,